I'm in a really bad fucking mood right now. Uh, I'll say it right now, worst, most inexcusable loss of the season for the Twins. They just gave a game away to the Royals. Where do I fucking begin on this? I hate Rocco Baldelli so much. There are people in this fan base, particularly on the Reddit game threads. These people treat him like he is the greatest manager in the history of Major League Baseball, let alone the Twins. He's untouchable. You can't ever question anything this guy does. He is a fucking genius. Genius of all time. Even when, and some of this shit goes back, years. What the, what the fuck? Why? Why is, okay. Devin Smeltzer, complete overachiever. Absolutely an overachiever. He's back. He's starting pitcher tonight because Joe Ryan hit the COVID list, so he came back up to start. He had a good start. I forget when last start he had before they sent him down. That's another just perplexing thing. Like you never have enough pitching, so you have. I think Smeltzer might have gone like 6 scoreless his last start, and then they sent him back down. It's like you can't find a spot for that guy on your roster. But he's back up. 7 innings tonight. I think he gave up like 2 hits, 3 hits. But he was never the least bit threatened in any inning. Like he was just on complete cruise control. And he gets pulled at 80 pitches after 7 innings. I mean, it's a lost battle. This whole pitch count thing. I mean, I was mad about it. First week of the season when Clayton Kershaw was maybe gonna, throw a perfect game against us with me in attendance, and he gets yanked for no reason. And guess what? He still fucking wound up on the injured list. So this pitch count thing doesn't prevent injuries at all. But tonight, like, he's at 80 pitches through 7. Pitching. I think the best game he's ever pitched. I know he had a couple decent starts back in I think 19, but just a absolute cruise control dominant start. But Rocco's probably got his spreadsheet. Says, oh, you can't put him in for another inning if God forbid someone comes close to throwing 100 pitches. His arm's gonna fall off. People actually believe this shit. That that there's some actual difference between, say, 80 pitches and 90 pitches or 95 pitches. The way he was pitching, probably wasn't going to take another 20, pitches to go another inning. So they pull him at 2-0. We're up 2-0. Not again, offense not doing shit. This lineup has had a couple of pop-up games, but they really, I thought they had kind of turned the corner. I thought maybe that series last week against the Royals also had maybe kind of snapped them out of it, but no, this is just a dog shit lineup. That's a whole separate issue. I mean, the whole Buxton thing, that whole plan to like keep them both healthy and productive, and it's failed on both counts because his injury doesn't, whatever his tendonitis, that doesn't seem to be getting any better. I mean, even he actually got a hit tonight, like an infield hit. He beat out an infield hit, but it didn't look like he was even going to beat out. It's one of these ones where when he's good, that's a hit with with room to spare, and this one kind of took a bad throw to first to get him in there, but they called it a hit. But all right, I'm not really going to talk about Buxton. But the Buxton thing is more of a big issue beyond this game. So they bring in Tyler Duffy, who I believe has already blown a couple games this year, and he's still living off the reputation of being a pretty good reliever in previous years. But that's one of these things with relievers is, boom, they'll just go like oftentimes it's very inexplicable, but they'll just go. They'll just stop being productive, and they can become just garbage overnight. We've seen it with, I saw the name dropped somewhere tonight of Trevor Hildenberger. Remember him? He was a great late inning reliever for us for a short time, and then out of the blue he was just unplayable. He was just garbage, and I think that's what's happening with Duffy. He came in with an ERA of in the high fours, and that went up because guess what? Tyler Duffy came in with 2-0 lead against a bad team. I mean, the Royals are pretty bad, and he blew it in seven or eight batters. He gave up a couple singles, gave up a double, walked a guy, and in classic Rocco fashion, he allows Duffy to stay in the game long enough to give up that third run and put us behind. I actually heard some boos on the broadcast. That was new. Usually the fans that are there are not that willing to boo. But this was warranted because this was just you just compound it. Like you take one guy out who's just cruising. You take Smeltzer out who's just in complete control. You take him out early, and then you leave Duffy in too long. You go back years. As long as Rocco has been here, he has just he isn't always making the wrong decisions, but most decisions involving pitchers, anybody with any baseball knowledge could make. But it's the the flip a coin type decisions that he always gets wrong. And what is the, and part of it is you put a guy in, but you never have, they're never, the Twins, at least under Rocco, are never prepared. They never have another guy warming up. Like the second that he put, because he got the first guy out and then he started giving up the hits. The second he gave up that second hit, I think it was a single, you have to have somebody warming up. Use your fucking bald ass head, Rocco. And I can insult him for bald head because so do I. Use your fucking head, man. Because everyone watching this was had to know this is just gonna snowball because it always does. And it's the thing that it just drives me fucking insane. Why? And this is league wide. Why is this the way teams want to run their pitching staffs and their games? You could have gotten a good Duffy outing tonight if he'd gone out and pitched a 1-2-3-8 and then whoever was in the ninth. It's still stupid. It's still it's still a needless complication. You got a starter who is just cruising. Why take him out for somebody who is an unknown like Duffy? And this year has been more often than not a bad, not just an unknown, but a bad thing. And then leave him in there. It reminded me of the start in the game where they made the big comeback, where they brought in that Cano, who ended up pitching the ninth tonight. They brought him in and then they just left him in. Batter after batter, couldn't get anyone out, and they maybe wouldn't have had to make that big comeback if Rocco had been at least somewhat intelligent with knowing when to when to get a guy out of there. Like, Duffy obviously was shit tonight, and he just leaves him in there. And he leaves him in there long enough to give up the third run. It's bad enough that he left him in there long enough to get the game tied, but then you have to leave him in there long enough to give up the third run. I don't even know if they had anybody warming, by that third run. Probably didn't, because Rocco's a fucking idiot. And boy, there's still so much from this game. So we're down 3-2. Bottom of the eighth comes up. We load the bases with nobody out. What could happen? I don't know. These are the things that just boggle the mind. I don't understand them. This goes back to even to 2019. If you want to just confine to the Rocco era, like, we have this offense that is hitting home runs at a historic pace. But that whole year, every time we got the bases loaded, we were shit. They were like the worst team in baseball, or one of the worst. And it's just continued. And like, every Twins fan watching this, you got to think, as soon as they get the bases loaded, no one out, that should be an advantage. That should be a huge advantage, especially in a one-run game. You're down 1 run in that situation, and it should be like, oh, we're here we go. We're coming. We're gonna tie this game up at least. We're gonna probably take the lead, and we're reduced to just begging for maybe we can get 1 run out of this, but we didn't. And this same shit happened yesterday. Lost a game to Detroit that they shouldn't have lost because they had the same fucking thing happen. I might have even been the same inning. It was either the 8th or 9th thing. They get the bases loaded, nobody out, and they can't put a run across. And the last video I did about the Twins was from that comeback game, and I'm praising them for manufacturing runs and doing all this shit. Boy, I've learned my lesson. Don't praise these fuckers. They're a fucking catastrophe. Manufacture, hit a ball in the air deep enough, hit something. Instead, we got like a strikeout and we got like a ground out. I don't even remember what happened. It's just fucking infuriating. Just get a run. Like, you're down 1 run. Even if you just get the 1 run, well, at least you're not going to lose the game at that point. You can play on and see what happens. And then get to the bottom of the ninth, and they had a first and third, 2 out, and couldn't get it done. But also during the 8th inning, I think it was with 1 out, Rocco goes and just random pinch hit. He pinch hits Nick Gordon for Ryan Jeffers. Just utterly random. Like, what is even the point of that? You're gaining a little bit of speed, and Gordon's probably a little better hitter. Is there some big advantage that I'm completely missing in making a move like that? It's over managing for the sake of over managing. It's the same shit that causes you to take out a cruising starting pitcher and put in a guy like Duffy. Like, what do you? It's like Rocco wants all the attention from the game to be on him. Like, oh, look at all the moves I'm making late in the game. I'm such a tactician. Well, he's not a fucking tactician. He's a fucking terrible late game manager. He is a fucking terrible late game manager, and he has been his entire fucking tenure here. Anytime we've won, people talk about how we've won some of these close games lately. Well, I wonder why the hell why have they been so close? I mean, we've been playing like bottom feeders for a couple weeks straight now, and all these games, they're winning a lot of these games, but they're close. What's going to happen when we start playing real teams again? I mean, we saw what happened when Houston came in here a couple weeks ago. It was a fucking bloodbath. We got to play teams like we're like about 2 weeks away from playing the Yankees. We know what that's going to be. And then we got to play Tampa in there somewhere. We've got to play some real teams here coming up. And we're getting by somewhat with some of these bad teams, but and we're lucking out because the American League Central continues to be bad. I don't know what the score is at the moment, but as of this recording, the White Sox are losing again, and they just kind of keep losing. So we still might be up like 4 or 5 games, but it's the same old shit. There's no way this team is ever going to go anywhere, in a playoff setting with Rocco Baldelli as the manager. It's never going to happen with this guy. He is just absolutely he's a fucking empty vessel. He's just an analytics slave. I'm sure the spreadsheet told him to bring in Duffy for some reason. And he saw that 80 pitches for Smeltzer. Oh my God, we got to get him out of there. His arm's gonna explode. I mean, what the hell do you care? You're probably gonna fucking ship him back to St. Paul here in a few days anyway. I'm just enraged. I was just enraged. I'm like punching tables and shit. I'm so mad at this loss. It's these games, and you can say, oh, it's just one of 162. Yes, it's just one of 162, but that matters. I'm sorry, it does. If the White Sox ever get their fucking act together, they are going to just blow past the Twins again. And the Twins are going to be fighting for a wild card in a league that's got a lot of good teams. There's good teams in the East that are just buried behind the Yankees. We're not better than those two. We're not better than any of these teams. There's no team that's currently in playoff position in the American League that we're better than. None. And a big part of that is because we have a terrible manager, and he's a terrible manager. I don't give a fuck that he won 100 games his first year. I've said it many, 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 many times, and I will continue to say it. A whole lot of managers would have won that many games with that talent and that historic, completely unrepeatable home run pace. It would have happened. And because that happened, because we won that many games with him as the manager, we are stuck with him. We're not going to be able to get rid of this guy, even though he is absolutely going to hold this team back from whatever they could maybe be. And I'm not saying it like you swap out a manager, they're a World Series contender or anything, but they're dead meat in the playoffs if they get there with Rocco Baldelli. Just like they were in 2019 when I'll never forget first fucking game of the 2019 playoffs. It's a tie game in Yankee Stadium, and the first guy he decides to bring in out of the bullpen is Zach Littell. Like, how does a guy's brain work that way? And then 2020, we got Barrios out there pitching the game of one of the games of his life. He yanks him out of the game for no reason, and then the bullpen goes in there and gives up the game. He doesn't know what he's doing. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. His decision making regarding pitching is so bad and so just robotic and stupid. I can't take it with this guy. And he's and we're stuck with him. And if they're gonna keep playing these close games, because they're not gonna be scoring a lot of runs, looks like. Buxton's completely fallen apart. Polanco's hurt now. Like, they're not. This isn't going to be an offense that's going to be putting up a ton of runs. So they're going to be playing a lot of close games, which means a lot of these games are going to come down to decision making with pitchers. And they were even talking about on the broadcast that we got a doubleheader coming up in a few days. We got all these games in a row. So every little bit helps. That you can get from your starters, and then you got Rocco going out there and pulling a guy at 80 pitches who's just absolutely in cruise control because some spreadsheet thing that he's looking at, some analytics bullshit, told him to, hey, this is where I have to take out the starter and put in this particular reliever. And then of course he wants to always, complain that they don't have enough fresh arms in the bullpen, and a lot of jokes have been had that baseball was going to be reducing the roster for pitchers. You were only going to be able to have 13, and Rocco, I think they said actually to Rocco, like, it was like pleading with baseball, no, please let's have 14. You don't need to have 14 pitchers. You don't, unless you're a fucking idiot who doesn't know how to manage a pitching staff, which Rocco doesn't. You don't need 14 pitchers. You probably don't even need 13 pitchers, but like, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many pitchers we have, because Rocco's always going to massively overuse relief pitchers and underuse starters. He's going to always overuse the bullpen, and then complain that we don't have fresh arms in the bullpen. And there's going to always have to do the constant shuttling back and forth between AAA. The guy's a fucking idiot. I'm just so sick of him, and we're stuck with him, and it just drives me insane that we're stuck with him, because he rode the coattails of a record-setting home run team a few years ago, and any Paul Molitor would have won 100 games with that team. Any of the other contenders to replace Molitor would have won 100 games. Baldelli has never done anything for this team that dozens of other potential managers could have done. Was it Tingler, the bench coach that we got, who filled in for Rocco for a while? Like, yeah, I mean, he would win just as many games, and maybe he wouldn't make asinine decisions like the ones tonight that cost them a game. Yeah, it's just one of 162, but you blew an absolute locked-in home win against a bad team, and you turned that guaranteed win into a loss with a bunch of really stupid decisions that didn't have to be made. But Rocco thinks he's the smartest guy on the fucking planet. On top of everything else, I find him to be an incredibly arrogant asshole. He comes off as just a smug, arrogant prick most of the time. We're stuck with him. Twins fans are stuck with him because of the 100-win season. He hasn't won a playoff game. I don't see. We get in the playoffs this year if manage to still keep the lead in the division for the duration. White Sox never figure it out. No one else gets hot in the division. Like, you could maybe win this division. You maybe don't even need to win 88, 90 games to win the division. That might be possible. And but they're going to get their asses handed to them in the playoffs, because they're going to face a team that's probably better anyway, and they're going to absolutely be facing a team that's better managed. And this was oh, it's just fucking irritating, man. He just keeps seeing this year after year with this guy. He just doesn't know what he's doing. He's just an empty vessel who's just like an analytics slave who just is never gonna. I'm sorry, like, analytics have their place, but you have to have other things that you look at. When you've got a pitcher who's gone 7 innings, has thrown 80 pitches, which is not some absurd number, let the guy keep going. His arm is not going to explode. And even if something did happen and he got hurt, which he wouldn't, he's not even in your regular rotation anyway. He's a guy you brought up from AAA. Ride the hot hand, for God's sakes. And then if you have a relief pitcher in there who is obviously bad, Have the ability to recognize that he is shit and get him the hell out of there before he makes it worse.
So special. This one is special. This is a group that
So
no one thought would ever be back
I
here.
hate this guy. I hate him. I fucking hate him. I hate Rocco Baldelli so much.
Thompson go through 2 catastrophic injuries.
He's right. He might already be like my least favorite, manager, head coach that we've ever had like in this town. And we've had some bad ones, and we've had some bad, really dislikable guys who've had some success. Like Brad Childress, didn't like him, but he did have some success. And it's just he's so fucking terrible. I can't believe how bad he is. And he's showing no sign of improvement. Like, even if you go back to 19 okay, rookie manager, we'll see if he grows. He's not growing. He's just making the same fucking first guess blunders over and over and over. And he's doing them for the same reasons, because he thinks he's the smartest guy in the world, because he's an analytics guy. It's not just about looking at a fucking chart and deciding, okay, this is what I'm gonna do now. Have some ability to look out onto the field and see what's actually happening. Because the teams that win when it matters, their managers know how to do that. Tom Kelly knew what he was doing. And I know he managed in a different kind of era, but the famous story, Game 7, 91, Tom Kelly's out there, or maybe it was in the dugout, and he was talking to Jack Morris, and it's like, he'd gone 9, and Morris fought to stay in, and what was Kelly's quote? Something like, "Oh well, it's just a ball game." Like, it's been said before. I mean, Rocco would have pulled Jack Morris after 6, and he wouldn't even have put in the good relievers after that. It's just, he'll never win anything for the Twins. And we're stuck with him, and it's just kind of it sucks because they'll probably be able to stay in contention throughout the season, but they're not going to go anywhere in the playoffs with this guy. They never will. And of course, they make the playoffs this year. That's going to buy him even more time to stay here. So we are fucked. But oh well, could be worse. We could be, I don't know. We could be who's got the worst record in baseball? Is it still the Reds? I think the Reds won like 20-5 today. I saw, but it could be worse. But it's always going to be worse. I wouldn't. We could play the Reds in a playoff series, and I wouldn't trust the Twins to win with Rocco Baldelli. All right, I'm out. Fuck you, Rocco.